Some people throw thorns, thinking you'll bleed. But fate, oh fate, has a wicked sense of humor. It makes them walk barefoot across the same path they tried to ruin for you. That's not just karma. That's the universe delivering irony with precision. You see, there's a silent order to this world, a cosmic balance that never misses a beat. Every move we make, every intention behind it, gets tallied in ways we may never fully grasp. Life doesn't need to shout. It remembers. And when someone tries to sabotage a path that was never theirs to control, the fallout is quiet, sharp, and devastating. There are people who live just to see others fall. Critics, doubters, silent haters watching from the shadows. But here's the twist. The more they aim to break you, the more they break themselves. The universe almost playfully bends in your favor. It gives you the wind they tried to steal and watches as their own walls collapse under the weight of envy. You are not ordinary. You are chosen, and that truth alone haunts them. Because your rise isn't loud, it's legendary. You grow in silence, and yet your presence screams in their minds. You live rent-free in the heads of those who tried to bury you, and they can't escape the echo of their own actions. They thought your silence was surrender, but it was preparation. So if you're done letting small minds define your limits, if you're ready to claim everything they said, you couldn't have hit that like button, subscribe, and join this movement. Because your growth is only getting louder, and the world, it's not ready for what comes next. Number 1, never harm a chosen one. The universe hits back harder than you'll ever see coming. You don't just pick a fight when you target a chosen one, you trigger an avalanche. One decision, one jealous move, one manipulative act is all it takes. Suddenly, what seemed like a simple game becomes a war. And the battlefield is silent, invisible, and brutal. Chosen ones walk with an energy that shifts the very air around them. Not everyone can see it, but they feel it. That unsettling pull, that quiet force. They're not just individuals, they're catalysts. Interfering with them doesn't lead to drama, it leads to dismantling. Not because they retaliate, but because life itself steps in. There's something terrifying about that, isn't there? The ones who thought they could control the narrative suddenly find their own story rewritten. And not with noise, with silence, with setbacks they can't explain. Relationships fall apart. Opportunities vanish. Their plans fall through like sand, slipping through trembling fingers. Because the truth is this, when someone tries to block what's meant to rise, they don't just face pushback, they face precision. The universe doesn't scream. It strikes, quietly, cleanly, and right where it hurts the most. It's not magic, it's not revenge, it's alignment, a built-in reset button that activates the second a chosen one is attacked. This isn't superstition, it's what happens when someone tries to sabotage purpose. The laws of life simply won't let it slide. You ever notice how the same people who tried to block you start losing their footing? One day, they're confident. The next, they're confused. Their energy fades. Their moves feel forced. It's like watching someone drown in a tide they created for you. This is the rebound effect. Not loud, not flashy, but devastating. Like a shadow that stretches behind them, growing longer with every step they take away from integrity. What's worse, they never see it coming. They think they've won until life turns the mirror. And suddenly, they're staring into the consequences of their own actions, wearing the mask they made for you. Meanwhile, the chosen one, you rise, not in rage, not in noise, but in silence that echoes louder than any scream. You gain clarity, power, momentum, and the universe. It clears your path as if it was waiting all along. This isn't just cause and effect. This is cosmic recalibration. So let them plot, let them throw stones, let them underestimate you. Every move they make against you is a countdown to their own undoing. And you just keep walking, aligned, unbothered, unstoppable, because the universe never forgets whose side it's on. Number 2, don't waste time on revenge. Life will handle your enemies better than you can. Chosen ones don't chase revenge. Why? Because they already know something their enemies will learn the hard way. The universe doesn't miss. Life has a way of serving justice colder, cleaner, and far more devastating than anything you could ever plan yourself. You see, when someone betrays a chosen one, they expect fire. They expect you to lash out, explode, make a scene. That's what they would do. But instead, they're met with silence, calm, stillness. And that's what messes them up the most. Because your silence, it's not weakness, it's psychological warfare. They wait for retaliation, but nothing comes. They check your page, they stalk your moves, they obsess over your reaction. And all they get is your absence, your refusal to even acknowledge them. That destroys them more than any angry words ever could. You, the chosen one, simply move forward, head high, eyes locked on purpose. You're too focused on evolving, on rising, to get dragged into petty wars. You're not in the business of revenge. You're in the business of growth. And that alone shakes the ground beneath your enemies. Because the truth is, life loves balancing the scales, and it does it in the most unexpected surgical ways. The people who wronged you start slipping. The same areas of life where they once thrived, relationships, success, confidence, begin to crumble quietly. They lose things they never thought they'd have to fight for. Doors close, connections dissolve, energy turns against them. And here's the wild part. You never had to do a thing. Life, fate, the energy they stirred when they crossed the line, it all turns on them like a boomerang. And by the time they realize it, they're already neck deep in consequences they can't escape. Their downfall? Self-inflicted. Their regret? Inevitable. So keep your silence. Let your growth scream louder than any revenge ever could. Because when you're chosen, your enemies don't need punishment. Life becomes their punishment. Number 3, stop explaining yourself. Your energy exposes their weakness without a word. There's something terrifying about crossing a chosen one. Not because they strike back, not because they go to war, but because their presence alone shines a light so bright it reveals every crack in their enemy's armor. When someone makes a chosen one their target, they're not just starting drama, they're signing a contract with exposure. They think they're attacking you, but all they're really doing is revealing their own insecurity, their fear, their envy. And the chosen one doesn't even have to flinch. Your energy acts like a mirror, not a soft reflection, a brutal, high-definition spotlight that puts their deepest flaws on public display. They think they're throwing shade, but instead they're uncovering everything they tried to hide. It's psychological warfare, and the most brutal part. You don't even lift a finger. They want to make you look weak. They want to paint you as the villain. But the harder they push, the more they unravel. Their words start to sound bitter. Their actions come off as desperate. people begin to notice. Why are they so obsessed with you? Why are they so pressed over your success, over your light? And just like that, the spotlight shifts. The audience turns. What they wanted to expose in you ends up being a full-blown display of their own emotional instability. That's the curse of targeting a chosen one. You dig a hole for them, but end up buried in it yourself. Your silence, your stillness isn't weakness, it's dominance. While they spiral, you elevate, you stay calm, composed, focused on your lane, and that drives them mad, because nothing frustrates a hater more than a target who refuses to react. They try to attack your character and accidentally assassinate their own. And in the end, you never needed to defend yourself. Life did it for you. Their defeat was never your responsibility. It was a self-inflicted wound, a public meltdown, a warning to anyone else who dares to test a force they can't control. That's the power of a chosen one. Your truth will always expose their lies without a single word. If you felt that truth deep in your soul, don't just scroll, own it. Like this video, subscribe for more, and join the tribe of chosen ones. Your rise is unstoppable, and the best is yet to come. Number 4. Don't dim down to fit. In pressure only makes your light more blinding. There's something deeply ironic about the way your enemies move. They think they're snuffing out your light, when in reality, they're feeding it oxygen. Every time they try to silence you, they're turning up the volume. Every scheme, every whisper, every attempt to control you is just another match tossed into your fire. People try to shrink what they don't understand. They try to silence what intimidates them. And the truth is, chosen ones scare them not because of what you've done, but because of who you are. Your presence alone triggers their deepest insecurities. So they lie, they manipulate, they create chaos, hoping to cloud your shine. But chosen ones are built differently. You don't just survive storms, you become the storm. You're not lit by approval or fueled by praise. Your energy comes from a place so deep, so unshakable, that pressure doesn't break you, it forges you. That's where they miscalculate. They thought the attacks would drain you, that the betrayal would destroy you, that the silence would sink you, but instead, it refines you. You rise with more clarity, more edge, more fire, like steel sharpened against stone. Every setback becomes a setup. Every push turns into a pull forward. And before they realize what's happening, the same trap they set for you becomes their own downfall. The person they tried to bury is now 10 steps ahead, shining too bright to be ignored, too powerful to be touched. You become everything they feared evolved. What they fail to understand is this: when you're chosen, your light isn't optional. It's inevitable. You don't dim, you expand. And the more they try to contain you, the more unstoppable you become. So let them plot, let them whisper, let them try. Because every act meant to control you only reveals their weakness and fuels your rise. Chosen ones don't crumble. We glow harder. And that glow, it blinds every enemy who thought they could dim it. Their mistake, thinking your light could be turned off. Their punishment, living in your shadow while you step into greatness. Number 5. Avoid fighting fire with fire. Their attacks will trigger their own collapse. The downfall never starts with a bang. It begins quietly, like a whisper behind their back, a missed call, a strange silence where applause used to be. That's how karma works when it's coming for someone who dared to mess with a chosen one. They thought nothing would happen. They thought they'd get away with it. But life doesn't forget. And it doesn't forgive easily when someone interferes with a force they were never meant to touch. The chain reaction starts almost invisibly. Their relationships, once solid, begin to crumble. Friends grow distant. Allies lose interest. Suddenly, the ones who used to cheer them on disappear, not out of hate, but because even the energy around them shifts. And people can feel it, even if they can't explain it. Then, the road they once walked with ease turns to quicksand. Goals they reached effortlessly become uphill battles. Every door starts to close. Setbacks pile up like bricks, and what used to be success now feels like survival. And then comes the slow drain: their health, their peace, their clarity, subtle aches, sleepless nights, a creeping sense of anxiety they can't shake. It's not a curse, it's not the chosen one doing anything. It's life balancing the scale. Because when someone chooses to interfere with a path powered by purpose, they sign up for consequences no one warned them about. It's not dramatic, it's surgical. Life strips them piece by piece until they're left asking, where did it all go wrong? The answer is simple. They tried to hurt someone who was untouchable. This is what happens when you throw stones at someone the universe is building a kingdom for. The ripples they set in motion become waves that drown their own progress. So let them laugh at first. Let them feel clever. But when everything around them begins to crumble, when they look back and realize that everything changed the moment they made you their target, that's when it hits. There are forces in this world you don't fight without a price. And chosen ones, we are the price. Number 6, don't let small-minded people shake you. You've survived worse than they can imagine. They have no idea what they're up against. These enemies come in thinking they can shake you, mock you, block you, bait you into reacting. But what they don't realize is this: you've already walked through storms that would have shattered them in seconds. You've been battle-tested in silence. While they were chasing attention, you were building armor. Every scar, a medal. Every betrayal, training. Every dark night, a lesson in survival. You didn't just endure, you evolved. The chosen ones are not made in comfort. They are forged in chaos. While others begged for a hand to hold, you stood alone. You felt the cold silence, the empty rooms, the weight of being misunderstood, and you didn't fold. You learned to breathe through the pain, to stand tall when your world was falling apart. You found power where most would have found excuses. That's why when these enemies try to play games, it doesn't land. Their manipulation, child's play. Their passive-aggressive tactics, too weak to penetrate the fortress you've become. You've already stared down things that would make them crumble. So when they come swinging with petty drama and fake narratives, you don't flinch. You almost smile. Because you know, this is nothing. They wanted a reaction. Instead, they got silence. That's when panic sets in. Because silence from the chosen one doesn't mean defeat, it means dominance. It means you don't even see them as a threat. And that is what eats them alive. They expected you to be like the rest, shaken, broken, seeking validation. But you're self-fueled, self-made. And they hate that. Why? Because they can't touch someone who already survived worse than their worst. So let them talk. Let them scheme. Let them underestimate you. You've already walked through hell. Number 7. Turn betrayal into power. It's the fuel for your next level. Betrayal cuts deep, but when it hits a chosen one, it doesn't destroy them. It activates something far more dangerous: evolution. While most people break under betrayal, the chosen one breaks free. What was meant to shatter them becomes the spark that ignites their rise. They don't sit in the ashes, they become the fire. There's a brutal kind of beauty in how a chosen one processes pain. They don't beg for closure, they don't chase apologies, they go silent, focused, locked in. And that silence, it's the sound of their rebirth. Because when someone dares to deceive a chosen one, they don't just lose trust, they lose access. Forever. You see, betrayal doesn't leave the chosen one bitter. It leaves them better, sharper, colder, smarter. They stop romanticizing loyalty in the wrong places. They stop pouring energy into people who were never meant to drink from their cup. They rise, and the people who broke them, they have to watch. Pain teaches, but betrayal teaches with a blade. Every lie told, every secret kept, every stab in the back becomes a blueprint, a map guiding the chosen one straight into a version of themselves they never would have discovered without it. Betrayal doesn't block their path. It clears it. Because the cruelest irony is that the betrayal was the favor. The ending they didn't see coming was the beginning that changed everything. It revealed the masks. It ended the illusion. It made the chosen one untouchable. Enemies think betrayal will weaken the chosen one. What they don't see is that they just handed them the tools for domination. They didn't create damage, they created distance. And with distance comes power. A power that no apology can touch. No fake remorse can fix. So let them betray, let them lie, let them think they won. But know this, chosen ones never stay broken. They turn betrayal into blueprint, scars into strategy, and setbacks into supremacy. And when they return with no mercy. Making a chosen one your enemy isn't just a mistake, it's a historical miscalculation. And karma, she doesn't forget. Number 8. Don't respond with noise. Your silence will haunt them more than words ever could. There's a silence that shakes the ground harder than any scream. And chosen ones, they've mastered it. When you go silent, it's not weakness, it's dominance. It's the quiet aftershock that hits harder than any loud retaliation ever could. You don't need to clap back. You don't need to explain. Because your silence speaks a language only the guilty understand. And it drives them insane. People expect noise. They expect a reaction, especially from someone like you, powerful, focused, rising. So when you go ghost, when you disappear without a word, without emotion, without effort, that's when they start unraveling. See, silence isn't passive. It's precise. It's psychological warfare. While they spiral, rereading old conversations, stalking your moves, playing out fake arguments in their head, you're already gone, evolving, building, thriving. And the part they never saw coming, the silence, is the punishment. It creates a pressure they can't escape. Like a ticking clock they can't see but feel. Every moment without a reaction is a moment they're left drowning in their own guilt, paranoia, and regret. Because deep down, they know. They messed with someone they should have never touched, and now they're left guessing when the fallout will hit. That's what silence does. It haunts, it lingers, it infects their peace of mind and turns it into chaos. Chosen ones don't chase closure. They become it. You don't show up to prove a point, you are the point. And while they're checking over their shoulder, waiting for some explosive revenge, you're already on the next level, untouched and unbothered. What they don't realize is that karma doesn't move on command. It moves with timing. And when it arrives, it hits when their guard is down, when they least expect it, and when they've finally started to believe they got away with it. But you knew better. You always did. So stay silent, stay focused. Let the universe finish what they started. Because your silence, that's the storm they'll never recover from. Number 9, don't chase closure. They'll be haunted by you long after you're gone. Chosen ones, making you an enemy wasn't just a mistake. It was the kind of mistake that echoes forever. They didn't just cross a line. They awakened something that doesn't go back to sleep. Here's the thing. When someone tries to take you down, they don't just walk away clean. Life doesn't let it go. It clings to them quietly, constantly, like a shadow that grows heavier with every step. They thought they could move on, pretend it didn't happen, bury what they did. But the universe doesn't forget. It doesn't forgive. It reflects. Now, they're trapped in a loop of eerie reminders. Your name slipping out of strangers' mouths. Your face showing up in the crowd. A smell, a place, a voice that sounds too familiar. Something always brings them back to you. Not because you're chasing them, but because what they did can't be outrun. They mocked your struggle, only to find themselves drowning in the same chaos they laughed at. They belittled your strength, and now they're gasping for stability in a life that's unraveling. That's not coincidence. That's justice in motion. That's karma showing up in subtle, surgical ways. The universe uses silence as a weapon, and your silence, it's loud in their world. They can't shake it, because you, chosen one, are no longer a person to them. You're a consequence, a symbol, a lesson they wish they never signed up for. And what's worse, no one else sees it. No one else understands why they flinch at certain moments, why they pause when your name comes up, why they seem restless in rooms where your energy once lived. But they know. Deep down, they know. You didn't have to curse them. Life did that for you. That's the curse of targeting someone who was aligned, elevated, and protected, not by superstition, but by the sheer force of purpose. So let them run. Let them hide. The truth, they'll never escape you. Not because you're present, but because they made you permanent. And now, the very thought of you will haunt them harder than anything they ever tried to do to you. Number 10. Stop letting them copy you. Your energy can't be imitated or replaced. They thought your power was personality, a little charm, a little confidence, something they could study, copy, fake. But what they didn't realize was, your energy isn't just hard to imitate, it's impossible to replicate. Because it doesn't come from the surface. It's rooted deep, forged in silence, sharpened by pain, and backed by something they will never understand. You're not magnetic because you try to be. You don't command attention because you're loud. You carry a frequency that shifts rooms without saying a word. That's what drives them mad. They tried to steal your light, but ended up choking on their own darkness. The chosen one's energy, it's a mirror and a magnifier. It reflects people's true selves while amplifying everything they lack. That's why they hate you. That's why they obsess. Because the moment they tried to compete, they realized they were out of their depth. The kindness they faked came off hollow. The confidence they borrowed collapsed under pressure. The wisdom they tried to quote sounded empty. Why? Because what you have isn't a skill, it's soul. And soul can't be stolen. They thought taking you down would elevate them, but all they did was sever the only connection they had to real growth. Now they're stuck, watching you rise while they spiral into confusion. The silence you left behind, it echoes, it haunts. Because every room they enter reminds them they're not you, and they never will be. Let them watch, let them envy, let them reach for a standard that was never meant for them. Your energy was tailored by trials, refined by solitude, and crowned by purpose. It can't be duplicated, it can't be decoded, and the more they chase it, the more lost they become. They tried to erase you, but in doing so, they erased themselves. Now they get to live with that emptiness while you keep rising, untouched, undeniable, and unreachable. Number 11. Don't fight dirty. Truth will rip their mask off without you lifting a finger. Chosen ones. You don't need to lift a finger. You don't need to shout. Just by existing in truth, you trigger a chain reaction that peels the masks off your enemies in ways they never saw coming. See, your energy isn't ordinary. It's magnetic, raw, and brutally honest. And that honesty, it acts like a spotlight. It exposes everything fake around you. You walk into a room and the air shifts. People feel it. They sense there's something different about you. Real ones are drawn in. But the pretenders, oh, they start to sweat. Because when you're aligned with truth, their illusions can't survive. Your enemies, they depend on performance, on manipulation, on image. But the more they try to destroy your name, the more they destroy their own mask. They unravel in real time. People start noticing cracks, fake smiles, insecure digs, desperate moves. What once looked confident now reeks of desperation. Here's the twist. You don't even have to defend yourself. The truth defends you. Every time they try to attack your reputation, the universe makes sure their own lies get caught in the spotlight. People start whispering, then questioning, then walking away from them. And there it is, the shift. The same people who once stood with them, who clapped when they mocked you, now begin to see through it all. Support dries up. Respect vanishes. Their credibility dissolves in front of their own eyes. One by one, their allies fall off, not because you said anything, but because your presence forced the truth to surface. That's the power of being chosen. Your energy isn't loud, it's lethal. Not with violence, not with revenge, but with clarity. You are a walking mirror, reflecting everything people try to hide from the world, and from themselves. They tried to tear you down, hoping no one would notice. But now, the spotlight is on them, and their biggest mistake was thinking the truth wouldn't rise. It always does. And when it does, it doesn't whisper, it roars. Chosen ones don't fight dirty. They just stay real long enough for the masks to melt. And when those masks fall, game over. If you felt that truth deep in your soul, don't just scroll, own it. Like this video, subscribe for more, and join the tribe of chosen ones. Your rise is unstoppable, and the best is yet to come.